Let's talk about a no-code budget between $10,001 to $20,000. Let's first talk about the range. Previously in our other videos, 3,500 to 5,000, 5,001 to 10,000, the spread wasn't so big. Now we've got a $10,000 spread. Why so much? Well, in this area, the different features that are needed can vary. And depending on what features you need, some features may take more of your budget allocation than some others, which you may not be able to get to two other phases. So many MVPs can fall into this area, but the outcomes could be different based on what's needed, which is why this spread is so much bigger. In my experience, this is average MVP area. In this price range, you can build enough features, enough complexities to really have a pretty solid MVP. Now keep in mind, the concept of MVP is minimal viable product. So you're putting a product out there to test the market, but it's not where you're going to end your building. In this price range, you start to see a diverse type of architecture. So multi-product e-commerce sites, two-way marketplaces, internal business apps, social sites, or productivity apps can be built within this price range. At this price point, design starts to get more critical because if you're possibly parting with $20,000 to get your application built, you want to be certain that there's no miscommunication between you and the developer. It's important to make sure that neither party is feeling like they're being slighted. The developer doing extra work for no money or the client paying money and not getting what they want. So that being said, good design at this point is very important. At this price point, a designer should be able to go through all of the pages and views that you might need for this particular version of your MVP. And it's important to keep in mind that you should also have different designs for different screen widths. At the very least, desktop and mobile size. We've experienced points along the way where something gets added in the build because the client wants to put more into the budget, or perhaps the developers developed faster than intended and there's some money left over. There may be some extra features that are put in, at which point maybe you don't involve the designer and maybe the developer extrapolates from the designs that are done already. Let's talk about environments. If you'd like a more detailed explanation, please see our previous videos. But in general, we're talking about either a web app or a native app. In this price range, you're still probably looking at one or the other, most likely a web app. Certainly native apps can be built in this price range. You probably won't get a web app with it. And it might be on the more simple to moderately complex side on the higher end of the range. There's a small chance, if designed correctly and the app is not too overly complex, that you could have different pages, one that handles your desktop and mobile screens, and other pages that have the same features but are made specifically for a native environment that gets wrapped in a native wrapper and then put on the Google Play or the Apple App Stores. Very small chance of this, but it has been done before. Here you'll see some sort of mix of Google Analytics, Mixpanel, Hotjar, Google Events, maybe just in small places. So things like Mixpanel and Google Events where you track specific things that happen within your app. You might get a couple of those, nothing overboard or overly complex. In terms of notifications, you might have an in-app notification feature on this within a web app, and maybe some, if you're doing a native app, maybe just a few simple external notifications. At the average MVP price point, you're going to start to see a lot more complexities inside of your database, a lot more backend workflows, more automations. Hence the reason why at this point I say this price point is where your features and your complexities are great enough to bring a decent MVP to market. In our average MVP range, you're going to have many more features, therefore more pages, more views, more complexities than the previous price points. There'll certainly be multiple user journeys. So for instance, you might have a buyer's user journey. You may have a seller's user journey. On top of that, you might have a super admin feature above all that, in which you can see some of the transactions that are happening within inside your app. You may also have certain functions that you can procure from a super admin portal. Super admin portals in this price range, obviously depending on everything else. certainly start at more simple terms or can get moderately complex, again, depending on what the rest of your app consists of. For your average MVPs, you'll start to see more complex monetization strategies than you did previously, more intricate cart checkouts, more intricate invoicing, more intricate and numerous subscription possibilities. For multiple party marketplaces, you'll start to see the introduction of Stripe Connect, in which you may see a buyer purchase something from a seller and then your app taking a part of the fee from that transaction. The average MVP price point is where we start to see more API work. Now, I would label this moderate API work that doesn't take a whole lot of experimentation. It's somewhat easy. There might be numerous APIs that need to be stringed in, but the work is more labor intensive versus something that requires more research, more experimentation, or more trial and error. Communication here and at price points beyond this is pivotal for success, before the build and during the build. What I'm suggesting before the build is that a full requirement discovery has gone through. What is it you're trying to do? What is achievable within your budget needs to be discussed. A user journey chart should be mapped out for every user that's going to be built into your app. And an ERD, an entity relationship diagram, which is basically your database schema, should also be done to ensure the proper thought pattern has gone into the database structure. In terms of during the build, there should be weekly meetings that go over what has been done the week prior and what is going to be happening in the week coming up. Hey, my name is Chris Ray from Alchemy Apps. We consult, educate, and build apps for clients using no-code tools like Bubble, Xano, and Flutterflow. We do this for startups looking to launch their MVP or maintain their current product, as well as businesses looking to streamline processes or introduce new products into their business model. Contact us today for a free 30-minute consultation, and let's bring your idea to life.